Welcome to Cfisd's Teacher of the Year celebration. Tonight you will see the hearts of our teachers, support staff, and paraprofessionals on the big screen as they share their passion to reach all students in Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. This will be a night to remember for the ages. You'll laugh.
You take a little survey, what's your hobby? I don't have a hobby. I love to work.
You'll cry.
I have kids who have been put down.
You'll say, "Aw."
Like to believe that they call me mom because maybe there's little parts of their day where they see someone who loves them.
But most of all, you'll know why these educators are the best of the best in Cfisd. And now, please put your hands together for Cfisd's Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mark Henry.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I will have to say, what a great audience tonight. I think this may be the most people that I've ever seen at one of these Teacher of the Year events. And this is just half of the teachers that we're going to honor. And then we're going to do the elementary teachers after this. So stick around. It's not often that you get a double feature anymore for the same price. So stick around for that. Again, thank you for being here. This is always one of my favorite events because we are going to honor the people that have the most direct contact with our students, our teachers, and our paraeducators, work daily with our students and are just making a difference in the lives of our students today and have for years and will continue to do for years to come. But before we get the program started, I do want to acknowledge some people that are here today. We have our board president, Dr. John Ogletree. We have board member, Mr. Don Ryan. Board member, Mr. Tom Jackson. And board member, Ms. Darcy Mangoya. Also joining us on stage is Teresa Hull, Chief of Staff. She will be calling out the names this evening, so she's just like me. She kind of grew up in the Deep South, so if we butcher a name or two, you've got to forgive us this evening. But she's ready to roll on that, and she's going to do a great job this evening. Again, I appreciate you being here this evening. I think you're going to be inspired by what you see and hear. Teachers, paraeducators, we're so honored to have you here today. And before we get started, I want to introduce one more group. Behind every great teacher, there's always a principal that's looking out for those teachers. If you're in the audience today and you're a principal of one of these educators, stand up so we can honor you. Having said that, let's get the show on the road. Thank you.
Debbie Connor. I'm the campus secretary at Black Elementary.
Amy Lavin. I'm a para at Berks Elementary.
My name is Claudia Portillo, and I work at the Berry Center.
My name is Drina Palmer. I'm the Nutrition Services Manager at Blyle Middle School.
Jerry Boyd, ALC East.
Bertha Alvarez, ALC West.
Juan Guevara, Bridgeland High School.
Arthur Teed, Carpenter Center.
Michelle Irwin, Carlton Center.
Jennifer Deniger, Cy-Fair High School, BFND.
Eric Carlson, Cy Creek High School.
Karim Seminario, Cypress Falls High School.
Zanetta Braswell from Cypress Lakes High School.
Butch Stevens, I'm at Cy Park High School.
Melissa McKenzie, Cy Ranch High School.
Senior Master Sergeant James Core, Cypress Ridge High School.
Harold Hogan, Cy Springs High School.
Susan Williamson, Cy Woods High School, CW 212.
Coach Diva Day, Jersey Village High School.
Gloria Ramirez, Langham Creek High School.
Wendy Glasscock, Winfern School of Choice.
Christina Nelms, Anthony Middle School.
Shashi Chug, Aragon Middle School.
Donna Berry, Arnold Middle School.
Cole Kerr, Lyle Middle School.
Carla Sosa, Campbell Middle School.
Pauline Goni, Cook Middle School.
James Fonte, Dean Middle School.
Sarah Ludeman at Goodson Middle School.
Victoria Baldwin, Hamilton Middle School.
Gerald Watley, Hopper Middle School.
Teresa Curtis, Kayla Middle School.
Courtney Ferris from Lehigh Middle School.
Juliana Gibbs, Salyard Middle School.
Megan Jones, Smith Middle School.
Evan DeFries, Spillane Middle School.
Severe Chakrin, Thornton Middle School.
Amber Kendall, Truett Middle School.
Michelle Skronik from Watkins Middle School.
Teacher of the Year, take one.
Please welcome CFISD's Chief of Staff, Mrs. Teresa Hull.
Good evening. We'll begin our program this evening by recognizing our Para-Educators of the Year. First, we have Debbie Connor from Black Elementary.
I did work in the real world for over 20 years. Then I became a stay-at-home mom with my two youngest children. And I was volunteering so much at Horn, they went to Horn Elementary. But one day my daughter came home, she says, "Mom, I didn't see you today. Did you get fired?" And I thought, okay, I'm volunteering way too much. So I just went out and filled out an application, and before I even got home, there was 2 messages left on my phone and I had a job offer. We all get along real well, and we're like a family. And we back each other up so well. And there are some meetings that I've gone to, and I hear with other campuses where they don't get a registrar doesn't get along with the admin or something like that. And I don't know how the office runs like that, but we're just like a timing machine. We can fill in when one's not there, and we just run really well. You're all there for one reason. We're there to support the children in the school, and once you become friends, you're all going to work well.
Our next para-educator is Amy Lavin from Burks Elementary.
I'm a hip para at Burks Elementary. I follow a student who is deaf and has behavior issues. I just love working with kids, watching them laugh, watching them get upset and try and feel better or boost their self-esteem, watching them just be themselves, be kids, just enjoy life. His way of expressing is lashing out, and so I'm trying to get him to calm, are you mad? Okay, well, calm down, just to let him know and show there's other ways of doing it. Him and I have a bond. Sometimes I'm a little bruised or something, but he understands. He has some remorse and we're trying to help fix that. We're trying to learn different strategies, but I'm known as AMY to him. He signs. He has a little bit of vocal, but all he does is AMY, which he's signing those letters AMY, but we're just now getting him to say my name, so it's neat.
Our support staff paraeducator of the year, representing the Berry Center, Claudia Portillo.
I am the head custodian. Our complete staff is 17 plus me. What I like about my job is the people, the different events. You get to see everything behind scenes. You get to see the before, the during, and the after. Concerts, different events. We get to see Lady Gaga, Cirque du Soleil. As a team, we work hard to create a perfect experience for the guest. Well, I'm from El Salvador. I grew up there until I was 12. Then I moved to America and I worked hard, and they asked me if I wanted to be part of the team. And that's how I come to the Berry Center, and then the head custodian position was created, and I got the position, and I've been there doing that for 10 years. My dad always said that if you want something, you need to work very hard, and hard work pays off.
Our next support staff paraeducator, Andrina Palmer from Blyle Middle School.
I started with food services, as we were known then, in 1990 as a part-time job. As the general manager, a great deal of my time is taken up with management. I like to try and help my ladies working in the kitchen. I'm perfectly still capable of scrubbing chili pots and getting in the sink. I love to help them serve on the lunch line. That's one of my joys. I'm 74 years old, last month. I'm from Scotland originally, and my husband has been trying to get me to retire for the last 10 years, but I still love the ladies. Y'all are wonderful, and you know I love y'all.
We'll now begin our Teacher of the Year honorees for secondary schools. Representing Cypress Ridge, Senior Master Sergeant James Core.
Although we're ROTC class, we don't allow any recruiters in our classroom. Recruiters are usually down in the lunch area, and we allow them to go and see them on their time, not on our time, because basically we're teaching them to be better citizens, you know, in the school and in the community, not just to go in the military. Now, if that's something that you want to do, we're more than willing to help you get to the military if that's something that you're interested in. It's not a typical class. I mean, we talk about business, talk about management, talk about education, talk about going to college, also talk about how to get a job, how to interview, how to write a resume. And I think that's one of the things that we see at Cy Ridge is that when a lot of the kids come back and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is the job I'm working. Oh, by the way, thank you for giving me that advice. You know, oh, thank you for helping me put my resume together, those kind of things. And when you see that, or some of the letters that you get back, well, when they graduate, they hand you your card and it's like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, which is pretty cool.
Our next honoree, Amber Kendall Truett Middle School.
We give them different scenarios, and we'll have a student be the teacher, or sometimes, you know, us teachers will play the student, and they have fun because we'll do the behaviors that they do, and they're like, we do that? I'll keep blurting out at them while they're trying to tell me a direction, tap my pencil, just get up, start wandering and bothering the other students, and they start getting frustrated. You know, they'll start trying to like raise their voice a little bit, or they'll clench their fists because they're starting to get frustrated because I'm not stopping while they're trying to talk. And sometimes they'll laugh too. They're, you know, they think it's funny, like, that's what I really do? Are you sure? And it's good to see them try and get me to follow directions. When I start following directions, and I'm like, oh, they can take a deep breath now too. I just want them to be happy and enjoy coming to school. And so I try to make, you know, school a safe place, and that's something that they enjoy.
Representing Winfern School of Choice, Wendy Glasscock.
I tell my students when they come to my class that I want them to leave my classroom at the end of the semester or mini-mester with two things. One, I want them to appreciate the government that we have in the United States, even though it's not perfect and, you know, has flaws. It's so much better than other countries, and I try to point out how good we have it. And the other thing I always tell them I want them to leave with, and I look at each of them, you know, in their eyes, and I tell them, I want you to leave here knowing that you can accomplish anything in the world you want to do, and there's nothing that can stop you. And I actually give them little notes on Mondays, and they're rolled up, and I tie them like little diplomas, and each one of them, at the end of the little message, whatever it says, I believe in you, hugs Miss G. Because I don't think that they hear that all the time the way that I did growing up. I think it's important for them to hear that every day and to believe it.
Next, we have Courtney Ferris, Lyby Middle School.
Back in the day, you went at a certain pace. The teacher would work through the examples that were in the textbook, would answer questions specifically that, you know, students would ask, and then you would do the practice problem from the textbook, and then you would go home and do homework from the textbook. It wasn't anything challenging, it wasn't anything creative, it wasn't anything that, you know, lets you move quicker or slower based on your needs. So a lot of times I work with kids that have not been successful in the past, and I have kids who have never passed a STAR test and who are able to pass it on the first try in 8th grade, and it's just because they get that ownership of what they're doing in my classroom every day, and it sinks in, they get it. Somebody takes the time to make it real for them.
Kareem Seminario from Cypress Falls.
I grew up in Peru, Lima, Peru. My father was a doctor. He passed away when I was 13. Not everybody knew my dad passed away. You know, I was going through a lot. But one teacher stopped me and he said, "You look different." One of the things he was like, "You're a fighter and nothing is gonna stop you." And I remember when I came to the United States and I tried to apply to, yo hablo español. And that's my first language. And then trying to learn all the stuff for passing the test. And people say, "I don't think you will never pass that test. And how are you gonna teach? Your accent is very strong." And I still wonder, do my students understand me? I say, "Well, I'm not teaching in English, I'm teaching in Spanish, so there's no problem." So being able to, to pursue your dreams and continue and not stop, I think that's what he taught me. And I think I'm blessed to have the opportunity to talk to these kids about teaching them not only about the curriculum, but about life.
From Watkins Middle School, Michelle Skronik.
I grew up in a small town called Flushing, Michigan. It is just outside of Flint. Whenever I talk about being from the Flint area of Michigan, most people hear Flint and associate it with the water crisis. And I've seen so much empathy come out of young kids. I had students asking, like, "Can I donate something? How do I get in contact with someone up there?" And that was amazing to me. It kind of opened up my eyes. Growing up where I did, I see a lot of the haves and the have-nots, and I knew becoming an educator would help kind of even the playing field. And that's where I stand, what inspires me every day. I have the opportunity to help students achieve their dreams, no matter where they started.
Next, we have Melissa McKenzie from Cypress Ranch High School.
So we teach juniors and seniors about early childhood development, about working with children, how children learn. And then in October-ish, we start running a licensed preschool by Child Care Licensing, and the high school students become the teachers for the preschoolers. They have a better understanding and better respect for what it means to keep a kid engaged in something, and a respect for how hard that is to do. They kind of change the way they behave sometimes in class when we don't have the preschoolers. They're like, "Oh, we're acting like the preschoolers now." Yes, you are. So the class really helps the kids understand how much work goes into being with kids. If we have kids in our nursery, we'll have infants, toddlers, and our preschoolers. And so they realize that, yeah, they're cute, but they are so much work, and it wears you out. If they're having a bad day, the big kids, they have a good day after they've been with the kids, the little kids, but yeah, I don't need to rush into this anytime soon. So it's living, walking, breathing birth control, if I'm allowed to say that.
Next, we have James Fonte from Dean Middle School.
In New Jersey, we had to take cooking and sewing. I could still run a sewing machine. And then once I got into high school, we had the opportunity to start taking a shop class. I'm teaching woodworking, metalworking, engineering, but I'm teaching them how to measure. I'm teaching them how to do the math that they're gonna need to do for that measurement. I'm teaching them real world stuff. I'm trying to get work ethic. Part of what you're gonna get paid for when you get out into the real world is how hard you work. If you're not working hard, people aren't gonna keep you around. I had one kid come back this year and he said to me, he was like, "Mr. Fonte, you were right." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "Man, these high school teachers, man, they make you work." I'm like, I told you. And I was like, well, just wait till you got to report to a boss. And they're going to turn around and be like, this project was due today. Where are you at?
Representing Hopper Middle School, Gerald Watley.
Back when I was in middle school, I had a teacher tell me, "Oh, just try this problem." And then I would try and attempt the problem. And then after I got through working the problem, they just sent me to the back to go and finish my work. And at that moment, I realized that, I was getting looked over and I wasn't really connecting with the teacher. The teacher really didn't pay me any attention. They said that I wasn't that smart and I wasn't that intelligent, and I probably wasn't gonna make it that far. And it was my first year teacher. I looked at the answer I said, no, it's not right, but I can show you how to work it out. And me and the student worked through the problem, and then he realized that he could do it too. Maybe 2-3 months later, in the 8th grade, he writes me a letter. He said, thank you for acknowledging me. And ever since then, I kind of held on to that. And that's what pushes me forward, because, you know, all you have to do is acknowledge somebody.
From Arnold Middle School, Donna Berry.
I was married and we farmed, and thanks to my family, I have a work ethic. We worked all the time. Unless the church was open, we were working. You know, when you take a little survey, what's your hobby? I don't have a hobby. I love to work. I want to be the best I can be at my job. And I want my kids to do the best that they can do, you know, in their life. I've been in the trenches where some of my students will be, and I can relate to them because of that. I've never had a parent that couldn't communicate with me because I talk on their level. Just because I went to college does not mean I'm smart. It means I worked hard, and I did work hard for it, and I studied hard for it, and I stuck with it. Me and my kids, we communicate before we ever talk math. We talk math the second day.
Next, we have Jerry Boyd, Alternative Learning Center East.
Before I came to Cy-Fair, I worked for 14 years in the Texas Youth Commission, which is now Texas Juvenile Justice Department. I've worked with kids that were at risk who had been incarcerated. My mother taught in Cy-Fair, so I'd heard about ALC from her. That's kind of what I felt my calling has been. I've always felt that, and I've seen it in my career, that there are kids who are just constant behavior problems, constantly acting out in one way or the other. It's that one thing that somebody told them, or most likely, it's that one thing that several people have told them over and over again that finally clicks, and it's that kind of aha moment. But you know, those around them don't see that they've had the aha moment. It's there, and then gradually they come to a realization that it's time to make a change. And my hope is that they're going to learn from that and grow from that and make that change and become the good people they are.
From Bridgeland High School, Juan Guevara.
50 to 70% of them come into the class expecting that they're going to end up pulling out their iPhone and just basically being able to like throw on Instagram filters on everything, and they're ta-da photographer. The class is taught from a very historical perspective, so we start them off where they have to make their own cameras. They have to learn how photography came into existence, so we spend quite a bit of time discussing the chemistry behind it, and spend about 3 or 4 weeks letting them get their equipment, because they have to go out and find a 35mm SLR. They have to find one that allows them to be able to adjust their shutter speed and their aperture. Then they learn how to shoot 35mm film. They go a long way in between from when they first make their first pinhole camera to when they are able to pick up a digital camera. And I feel like it's important for young people to be presented a very real version of the world that we live in. And what better way to do that than by freezing moments in time and capturing it on film or on camera or however.
From Goodson Middle School, Sarah Ludeman.
Her name was Mrs. Watson, and she taught 3rd grade. She had this energy about her that she was always positive. She made learning fun. I can remember her like dancing around the room to a certain book that we read, and she was just very animated, and I always just loved to watch her to see what she's going to do next. I feel like I'm very animated. I always try to put something that helps the kids remember something that I've taught. I mean, I don't do cartwheels because I don't have enough room on my desk to do the cartwheels, but I might. I might be like when I'm teaching revolution, I'd be walking around the room saying the word really slowly so they understand revolution takes a lot longer than rotation, rotation, rotation. Now I'm all teary. I think that I just remembered how she taught me to learn, and so I've taught my kids.
Representing Campbell Middle School, Carla Sosa.
I've always known that I wanted to be a music teacher. My mom was a music teacher,
And so it's always just been in my bones. Majored in music at the University of Houston, Moore School of Music, go Cougs. And I have kids that are coming from all kinds of different things at home. And so music is the universal language. And so they can come to school and they can express themselves. And so there are some songs that are fun and uplifting and they can kind of take them away from the things that they're dealing with. But then there's also songs about actual things that they're going through. They'll come back to me later and say, you know, Miss Sosa, this song really sang to my heart. They are literally my children. I tell them that they call me Choir Mama. Choir Mama means that I will always be there for them. I will accept them for who they are. I'm gonna let them know when they're wrong. I'm gonna let them know when they're out of line, but I'm gonna do it out of love. I genuinely care for them. Choir Mama.
Next, we have Christina Nelms from Anthony Middle School.
So I decided to start substitute teaching when my youngest son went into elementary school. It became apparent very quickly that I loved the classroom and I loved the students, and I started immediately figuring out how I could get my certification, finish my education, and become a full-time teacher. I remember sitting in a classroom, and I remember looking around the room and it wasn't decorated. And I remember thinking, who would want to come in this classroom? And then the kids came in and I tried loving on them and just being the best sub I could. But I remember sitting there and praying. And I said, God, if you give me a classroom, my kids will want to come to class. My kids will be excited and I'll make the room feel like their home. I'll make the room feel like a place where they will want to be. And I knew in that moment that I didn't want to be a sub anymore. That I wanted my own class.
From Cypress Creek High School, Eric Carlson.
I'm fascinated by chemistry, and pretty much every day I'm looking at chemistry. I mean, I try to blow up anything that we can. Anytime we evolve any kind of a gas, I'll trap it in a balloon and blow it up. Each Halloween, we try to blow up as many pumpkins as we can. There's a tremendous amount of applications. There's the combustion reactions, there's the thermodynamics of it. So you've got all the heat evolved and measuring that heat. There's gas laws involved. How many chemical ingredients do we need to put into this volume of space to push out the walls? My favorite part of teaching is actually teaching. It's not the paperwork, it's not grading, it's the actual interaction with teaching students for that aha moment. The thing that I would try to do just to interest them, to keep their interest, is blow stuff up.
Next, we have Teresa Curtis representing Kayla Middle School.
All those seeds that I planted, I'm seeing them grow. I go to Cypress-Fairbanks, and the guy that's at the ATM is Nick, a guy I taught. He's like, hey, Miss Curtis, what you need? And I'm like, hey, I just need some money. But I know because I had a great relationship with him that he's not messing with my money. He's gonna give me my money, and it's all good. And then I can go to the outlet mall and I see like Chloe, who is about to graduate from Prairie View, my school that I graduated from. She's gonna go into the military and she's gonna be a psychiatric nurse. That's my seed that I planted years ago. This is a ministry, and it takes a ministry of planting those seeds. No matter how rough the ground is, you keep watering, and you keep watering, and you keep loving, and you keep pouring, and you keep pouring, because it's gonna grow and it's gonna be awesome.
Next, we have Crystal Day from Jersey Village High School.
I am Crystal Day, better known as Coach Diva Day. I'm not the typical diva. I just feel like I have to say that every time I say diva, right? So I think there's probably a negative connotation when you hear the word diva, but when I first started coaching, I used the word diva, and we talk a lot about the word diva, but I was very big on acronyms. I wore my kids out with acronyms, though. But for us, diva stands for, you know, a young lady who's determined in everything that she does, no matter what she does. Or a young lady who's gonna be intelligent, making the right choices. It doesn't mean that I have to be the smartest person in the world, but I'm gonna make intelligent decisions for myself and for my life. The V is vibrant, you know, so every Every aspect that they walk into, I want them to shine. I don't care what that looks like. I don't care if you're gonna be a teacher, if you're gonna be a lawyer, if you're gonna be a doctor. And then just amazing. So leave people with a just breathtaking experience from you every time they encounter you. So whatever that looks like for them, whatever world they enter into, I just want them to have the characteristics of a diva. So that's where that came from.
Next, we have Paul Langoni from Cook Middle School.
My father's a plumber. I tried to get into plumbing. I didn't like it, so I wound up going back to school, got my associates. While I was getting my associates, I was management at Starbucks, did that for a while while I was in college. And then when I finished up college, I got into teaching. And I even tell them the story about my dad worked really hard. My dad, I remember being in attics at night and, just working late, hard. I mean, when I was in high school, I did stuff like lifting water heaters in attics and things like that. And that made me want to do something different. Strange enough, I even tell the kids, there are certain jobs you can't even apply for if you don't even have a basic four-year college degree. And let's be honest, it doesn't have to be college. They can learn trades. They can, whatever they have a passion for. So I can be honest, my dad makes more money than I do.
Next, we have Sashi Chuga from Aragon Middle School.
Read 180 is a reading intervention program. I'm just not going to give up. You can be rude, you can be mean, you can cry, you can love me, and they're mine. I know what goes on at home. I know their entire life. Their parents don't know I know, but I do. So we talk. There are surprises sometimes. I have kids who have been put down. No one trusts them. People think they can't do anything. I don't see them like that because when they come to my class, they're mine. So if they're hungry, I'm gonna feed them. If they need clothes, I'm gonna clothe them. And then there are some good fun surprises too. Like mom and dad had an argument, mom won. So that's kind of fun too, to hear all that. So things like that.
Representing Cypress Parks High School, Butch Stevens.
Started off teaching for 12 years at the elementary school level, doing 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and now teach video and yearbook. Well, I'm highly involved in my church doing video, and I got the opportunity to go to a missions trip for a few weeks in Africa, and so now I have my own video production company. SoFly Video Productions is the name of the company that I run. Now, I try not to make it too big so that way it doesn't get in the way of teaching, but my mantra, the word is hustle. So I hustle hard and I share with them my success stories so that way they can see you work hard at something, you have dedication, you'll get the results. I take my students on different shoots that I do if I've got the ability to. A couple of students have went with me to a wedding and shot that so they get real world experience. They even help Cfisd shoot the dog canine videos, and their footage is out there and they could use it and say, here's footage that I shot, so that's pretty cool. I never liked school growing up. Hated it, didn't have anyone in my family that enjoyed it. So now that I'm a teacher, it's one of those, I want to make school fun and engaging and exciting.
Next, we have Bertha Alvarez, Alternative Learning Center, West.
In ALC, we do not only teach the kids the subject, we want to be there for them. Be the adult that they probably don't have, be their shoulder, or the person they don't have at home. Because a lot of our kids are homeless, they live in foster homes, or they don't have mom, or they don't have dad. So I try to be there and I tell them that I'm their big mama. I say, Big Mama is gonna get you. So I'm there for them. They always say to me, why do you believe in us so much? And I said, because you are part of me. They say, you don't even know what I'm here. Do you wanna know? I say, no, I don't need to know. I just need to know that you're here. For the time being, I wanna make it perfect. I wanna make it nice. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel secure. I want you to know that I will protect you regardless of anything, and that I'm here for you.
From Langham Creek High School, Gloria Ramirez.
I knew I wanted to play trumpet because I saw this picture of it. You know, when I was in like 3rd, 4th grade, they had this picture on the wall, and I said, I like that shiny instrument. I wasn't sure what it was, but I knew I liked it. And so when my dad bought records for my sister of Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass, and I remembered that, I said, oh, I like that sound. So that's how I started. And they said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to be a band director. And they said, okay, well, let's get you ready for that. And I said, well, I'm going to U of H. And they were like, all right, I'm just going to be the best band director ever. And that would mean win awards, do all that stuff. And I've done all that. You know, we've done all that. If you go in our band hall, you'll see all these trophies. And I'm not saying trophies are not, you know, but we're out for something bigger than that now. It's like, you guys, you're going to get your first division. Don't worry about that. Now let's see how high we can raise the bar. And they're with me on that. As long as they're making a positive impact, that's what we're about. You know, whatever you choose to do, you know, you have a happy life. Go Cougs.
From Blythe Middle School, Cole Kerr.
My experience mostly has been with students who have very severe disabilities. Some of the kids other people were afraid of. And my biggest success was seeing these kids go from combative and screaming and hating everything about school to having these long periods of time where there was no aggression, and physical or verbal. Somehow I think like they do. I'm not sure how to explain it except that I'm able to get into the heads of the way they think. A lot of my experience has been with children with autism, and they struggle a lot socially, and I think I've had issues in the past. I'm much better than I used to be, but socially, and so I feel like sometimes I can relate to them in a way that other people don't. And so when they get a teacher that basically loves them, they blossom.
Next, we have Victoria Baldwin, Hamilton Middle School.
We have frog dissections. That's, you know, when the kids come in, that's the first question they ask. What are we doing frogs? They want to see what's inside. You know, I don't want to say hack things up. But, you know, they want to see what's inside. Even the kid that says, I don't want to do that, they're sitting there watching. And then they're usually the ones that, oh, okay, let me get that scalpel or those scissors and I'm ready to join in. We just finished the body systems prior to this, so now we're going to apply and compare our anatomy with the frog and see what do we have that's in common. And we're going to bring back, well, what does that body system do? Now let's apply it to this. So we've done the frog, we've looked at their digestive system, and then we lead that into Blue Day. So the idea is we eat and drink things that are blue. And the theory was, not as much now, that if you eat all this blue, you will poop blue. So, and I tell the kids, I talk about poop a lot this year, which, you know, they're a little skirmish by the time we get to all this. And they're like, do we need to share that? No, you do not need to share that with me at all. I will believe you if you tell me, so.
Next, we have Jennifer Deniger from Cyfair High School.
I was actually a biochemistry pre-med major. I took a class where we were dissecting some cryptobiotic worms, and I decided I don't like yucky things, and so being a doctor is probably not the thing for me to go into. And my mom said, well, you've always been around kids. I babysat, I nannied. I have a baby brother and sister, and I helped to raise them. She said, why don't you go into teaching? My first year of teaching, I was like, what am I doing? One of the parents, her daughter was not doing well in my class. She came to my classroom and started yelling at me and telling me I was like the worst teacher ever. And I was crying, and I ran to another teacher's classroom, and she was like, don't listen to any of that. You know, when you become a seasoned teacher, you can look at a first-year teacher and know whether they're gonna make it or not. And so she saw that in me, and she said, no, you need to stick with it. You know, you'll be fine. I stuck with it. I mean, obviously, I'm here 20 years later. That's an awesome thing.
From Cypress Woods High School, Susan Williamson.
I teach English, and so with English, there's so much conversation that happens that maybe doesn't happen in other content areas. But in English, we talk about so much and write about so many things. But I feel like through the conversations, I get to know the kids, and it's having that effect on them and seeing the seeds that you can plant along the way blossom throughout high school, and just being someone for them, being an advocate for them, trying to help them figure out who they want to be, what they want to be, where they want to go. And I think that's really kind of what it all comes down to when you're teaching, is letting the kids know that everything is a possibility, everything is an opportunity, and to grow it instead of squelch it by creating an atmosphere in which the kids feel safe to take a risk, feel validated for taking those risks, know that they're a valued part of the environment, so they will take a risk.
Next, we have Zanetta Bracewell representing Cypress Lakes High School.
In the VITAL program, we help them gain vocational skills as well as independent living skills. And so when they age out and they become adults and productive citizens, they can be able to take things with them, just teaching them how do I behave out in public, being able to order from a menu, paying the cashier, receiving your change, knowing if you had enough money if you purchased something. When they're with me, they are adults, and we do adult things. With the family, they'll just up and like, let's go to the movies. The family pays for it. The family does everything, you know. But when they're with me, they have to go up and purchase their ticket. They have to go up and go to the concession stand or go to the cashier, or we're making them do it instead of most of the times when they're with the parents are doing everything. So it gives them a chance to be able to do it for themselves.
Next, we have Megan Jones, Smith Middle School.
I've always wanted to be a teacher. I played school since I can remember. I've got 2 younger siblings and just kind of always liked to be the boss. Oh, I was the boss. You were gonna sit down and do what I said. We were gonna practice math, science, whatever it was, but you listened to me. With other people's kids, I have way more compassion than I did for my own siblings. Beth Myskins, she was my favorite science teacher, favorite teacher ever. She left the biggest impression on me, just with the way that she taught and the questioning styles. When I think of science, that's the one class I can remember. You know, not necessarily 8th grade, not high school. So many kids come into science thinking science, it's hard. It's, you know, it's STEM related. It's just beyond them, and it's really not, especially at 8th grade, you know, and it shouldn't be. And so many kids don't like science at 8th grade because they've gotten discouraged and it's not fun anymore. But then when you hear them say, I love science now, or their parents telling you, my child absolutely loves science now because of you, it's like, that's why I do what I do.
From Thornton Middle School, Sudhir Shakran.
I originally was interested in children and science and serving children to the best of my ability through medicine. So I went to pediatrics. My background was in cancer research. And then I had a revelation that I wanted to actually be able to reach children in a way that was more meaningful for me, and that involved education. I actually grew up in poverty, and a lot of students, they look at me and they make a lot of assumptions based on my appearances, on my name. They don't realize that I grew up in a neighborhood just right next to where they grew up, under same socioeconomic backgrounds as they did. I had a lot of the similar challenges that they had. And so a lot of times they have these assumptions, and I want to make them aware that you can reach certain aspirations and certain dreams despite those challenges. And I like to at least make them feel like there is actually a connection between me and them. Even though my name may sound so different, I might look very different from them. We're actually coming from the same place.
From the Carpenter Center, Arthur Teed.
Carpenter Center is a place for kids that have been diagnosed emotionally disturbed. Quite often, most of them have a mental illness that's known about, but in a lot of cases, mental illnesses haven't manifested yet, but they've had X amount of years of displaying behaviors that really your home campus can't really handle, in short. So we have a much more structured environment. We have an environment where the teacher-student ratio is winning. It's fun to take kids. Just for me, this is the high for me, is to take a kid who's below grade level and get them up to snuff. And we obviously don't take things very personally. We're ultimately punching bags throughout the day to some extent. We're just such a good team. That's really what it is in a nutshell. in terms of why I enjoy going to work.
Next, Juliana Gibbs, representing Salyards Middle School.
Well, you'll be surprised how many kids go off to college and they don't know how to boil an egg. I love teaching kids the basic life skills that they're going to use forever. You know, they're going to take these things and they're going to use them in their own families. In 1973, we moved to Georgia Village. I went to Post, I went to Dean Middle School, and then I went to Georgia Village High School. And I lived in the same house until I graduated and got married. And I think a lot of that has to do with the foundations that my dad put, you know, for our family. He did love to cook. He loved to grill. He loved food. So I'm sure I get part of that from him, for sure. My daughter's a teacher. My sisters are teachers. So I think we got a lot of that from him. He loved to show us stuff.
From Spillane Middle School, Kevin DeFries.
You know, our students today, they don't know one tool from another tool, and I feel like I'm helping them help themselves down the road. Some of them that don't excel in the classroom, maybe they struggle academically, but their hands are amazing. And they'll get in there, and it's almost like artwork with some of the things they can do with their hands. And the thing that is the coolest about teaching engineering and manufacturing is the tools that we have. I look at our students and go, we can make anything your imagination can come up with. We have 3D printers, we have laser machines, we have CNC, we have plasma. We can make it out of wood, plastic, or steel. Your imagination is what's going to limit what we can do. Things don't always come out great the first time. Sometimes we have to make them 2, maybe 3 or 4 times before we get the product that we really want. I tell them, I look at them and go, you know, I have 2 degrees. I have a master's degree, and you can go get certification right now and walk out of here and make more money than me.
Michelle Irwin from the Carlton Center.
These students have been told what they can't do since they were age 3. If I'm giving a student a new task, either they kind of do the blank stare, or they just say, I can't do it, or, oh no, you do it for me, or they'll even wait for me to do it for them instead of them even trying. We just kind of wait and watch, and then the students soar. And even today we were at TJ Maxx, and we were learning how to do job placements, and in 3 weeks my students were able to do something that they thought could never be a goal they could meet, and then they were helping throughout the store and being able to do all sorts of tasks completely by themselves, and they feel the sense of encouragement and ownership, truly knowing that they can accomplish something, they can be employed, they can live a fruitful adult life and meet their goals and have a happy life. It's just wonderful. Sorry.
And our final honoree, representing Cypress Springs High School, Dr. Harold Hogan.
This is my 3rd year of teaching. Was a minister for 30 years before then, and worked at a more suburban, predominantly Anglo church. Even a 58-year-old white male could be considered cool. Each year, somebody's going to challenge me to a rap competition, because I'll say something like, I can do that better than you. We'll write a rap, and then we'll freestyle another rap. He walks down the hall, swaying and saying, he's got game, but we know that he just played. There's a guy that wears his pants almost to the floor. We hope that his belt don't drop, and that's for show. He wears a necklace around his neck like bling, but I don't really get it, that's not my thing. And it always starts with a diss or two, but it always ends up with me paying them a compliment. All I can know is he makes me laugh at the end of the day. He'd settle for a B, but I want him to make an A. I wouldn't want to leave them with a diss, even though it gets the crowd yelling. I want to leave them with a positive thought.
Please welcome CFISD Board President, Dr. John Ogletree.
Let's give it up for all our honorees tonight. We've seen the best for this school year, and one thing, excellence always distinguishes itself. And so we are happy for you. Thank you for setting yourselves apart. Thank you for blessing our children, investing your passion, your schooling, your certification, your everything into them. We wish you well. God bless you. Thank you.
And one more warm welcome for CFISD's Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mark Henry.
That was a pretty good hour program, wasn't it? Before we get out of here, I want to make sure we acknowledge some folks. This was all produced internally by the CFISD cinema team. So if you're part of that cinema team, stand up so that we can acknowledge you. It's a little hard to see in here, but we've got several people standing. And I was thinking about it, and I know some of you know this, and many of you are really proud that the secondary group's going first because they tell me there's a basketball game on at 8:30. I'm not sure about that. But you know, when I go to a sporting event like that and they call out someone's name like James Harden, or the football game and you hear J.J. Watt and the crowd goes wild, well, I want our teachers and paraprofessionals here to turn around, and I'm going to say, here's the CFISD Secondary Teachers of the Year, and I want y'all to act like y'all are at a Rockets or a Texans game and let them know. So teachers, paras, please stand, turn around, find your kinfolks, and introducing the CFISD Secondary Teachers of the Year. One final thing, JJ and James are sports heroes. These are real heroes. Thank you, teachers, so much. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Please exit quickly through the north exit so that we may prepare for our next event. Enjoy the reception, and please join us at 7:30 for the Elementary Teacher of the Year celebration. program will begin in 1 minute. Please take your seat. Welcome to CFISD's Teacher of the Year celebration. Tonight you will see the hearts of our teachers, support staff, and paraprofessionals on the big screen as they share their passion to reach all students in Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. This will be a night to remember for the ages. You'll laugh.
You take a little survey, what's your hobby? I don't have a hobby. I love to work.
You'll cry.
I have kids who have been put down.
You'll say, aw.
Like to believe that they call me mom because maybe there's little parts of their day where they see someone who loves them.
But most of all, you'll know why these educators are the best of the best in CFISD. And now, please put your hands together for CFISD's Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mark Henry.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. You know, with that intro, it's kind of like being at the Academy Awards, isn't it? Kind of gives you that feeling. But I tell you what really warms my heart. We're honoring the real heroes of this country, our teachers. And look at the crowd out there. We've got a full house. You know, Teresa, next year, we may have to add more chairs in here. And wouldn't that be great to be bringing chairs in? So thank you all for being here this evening. To honor these wonderful educators here in Cy-Fair ISD. Joining us this evening, we have 4 of our Board of Trustee members, and I'd like to introduce them. We have our Board President, Dr. John Ogletree. We have Board Member, Mr. Don Ryan. Board Member, Mr. Tom Jackson. And Board Member, Ms. Darcy Mangoya. The wonderful thing about Cy-Fair ISD and the reason I think that we're so successful is we always have great citizen volunteers that are on our Board of Trustees. And at any event like this, you'll see somewhere between 4 and 7 of them at every event. And you can imagine in an organization this large, we have a lot of events. But this is one of my favorites. Because we do honor the teachers and the people that are having the greatest and most immediate impact on the students here in Cy-Fair ISD, which is the purpose of our district. But before we get to honoring them this evening, and you're going to see some wonderful videos, and you're going to learn a lot more about each of these honorees this evening, I'd like for the people that are behind our great teachers that help support them on a daily basis, I would like for the principals in Cy-Fair ISD to stand up so that we can acknowledge you. Thank you all for being out here this evening. And without further ado, we will get on with the show. Thank you.
Of the year, take 1.
Adriana Salcedo, Adam Elementary.
Lachey Fleming, Andre Elementary.
Rhonda Nielsen, Alt Elementary.
Cynthia Chavez, Bain Elementary.
Amber Denton, Bang Elementary.
Kristen Smith, Berks Elementary.
Laura Baginski, Black Elementary.
Christina Alonso, Copeland Elementary.
Terry Richter, Danish Elementary.
Susan Pittman, Duryea Elementary.
Ann Brown, Emory Elementary.
Michelle Ray, Emmett Elementary.
Charlotte Carey, Farney Elementary.
Elaine Winger, Feast Elementary.
Kirsten Seacrest, Francone Elementary.
Michelle Craig, Fraser Elementary.
Ashley Gallardo, Gleason Elementary.
Taylor Kennedy, Haregrove Elementary.
Vicki McCoy, Hamilton Elementary.
Christine Barry, Hancock Elementary.
Wendy Garza, Hemingway Elementary School.
Melissa Parker from Holbrook Elementary.
Monica Roebuck, Holmesley Elementary.
Michelle Grant, Hoover Elementary.
Joe Luna, Horn Elementary.
Kim Harding, Joel Elementary.
Brenda Callis, Keith Elementary.
Ellen Jablonski, Kirk Elementary.
Renee Young, Lampkin Elementary.
Carlos Gonzalez, Lee Elementary.
Jesus Esparza, Leader Elementary.
Pam Taylor, Lowry Elementary.
Tanya McQueen, Matsky Elementary. Jessica Franco, McPhee Elementary. Alma Cardoso, Metcalf Elementary. Crystal Phelps, Millsap Elementary. Carrie Weedle, Moore Elementary. Allison Habita, Owens Elementary.
Noelle Sharon, and I teach at Pope Elementary.
Catherine Grenwelge, Post Elementary.
Terry Lynn, Postma Elementary.
Chantel Reed, Reed Elementary.
Edith Patel, Grinnell Elementary.
Dulce Gonzalez, M. Robinson Elementary.
Jeannie Decker, A. Robinson Elementary.
Lisa Conser from Sampson Elementary.
Maria Andrea Cobo, Sheridan Elementary.
Diane Prestridge from Swinky Elementary.
Erlinda Kennedy, Tibbs Elementary.
Natalia Carugati, Walker Elementary.
Mary Kate Moore, Warner Elementary.
Peggy Holmes, Wells Elementary.
Smith McBride, Wilburn Elementary.
Christy Capers, Wilson Elementary. Summer Camp, Woodard Elementary.
Debbie San Lucia, Yeager Elementary.
Teacher of the Year, take one.
Please welcome CFISD's Chief of Staff, Mrs. Teresa Pohl.
Good evening. Our first recipient tonight, or honoree I should say, is Miss Vicki McCoy from Hamilton Middle School, Hamilton Elementary. Sorry, we just finished that.
I had an elementary PE teacher, Coach Cannon, who loved PE. We would play Star Wars, he would turn the lights out, he would play the Star Wars music. I just remember the feeling. I couldn't wait to go, and when it was over, it was like, that was so fun. And then I think in middle school and high school, I saw different kind of coaches that were a little more serious and less fun. So we still play this super fun game where they throw balls all across the gym. It's loud, we turn the lights out, we turn the music on, and they love it. I had a student say, "You're always in a good mood." And I was like, oh, that makes me feel so good. And I made him say it again, like I got my camera out, like say that again. And he said, Miss McCoy's always in a good mood. I hope when they're my age, they have memories of enjoying coming to PE and having fun. And I hope they still say, Miss McCoy was always in a good mood, most days.
From Lampkin Elementary, Renee Young.
I have a grandmother who actually was an Italian immigrant and never learned to read or write. I remember as a kid going with her to, like, say, the grocery store, and we had to rely on, like, the kindness of strangers for them to read the canned goods to her or to help her fill out a check. She went on to raise my dad, who actually was quite a handful, but he failed first grade because he didn't speak English. I always feel like there's that certain population of kids that gets left behind in a regular classroom, and so I wanted to really zone in on those kids, and so that's why I chose to get some extra training in that area, and so that I could really help those that are struggling. My dad ended up being super successful, a valedictorian of his class, full ride to Rice University, and owner of a small business. So he was the generation after her that was able to take advantage of the educational system and become a success from it. You know, you miss out on a lot of life if you're not literate. Just think of how much richer, you know, your world could be if you were proficient at reading and writing.
Representing Duryea Elementary, Susan Pittman.
5th grade, Mr. Ingebrigtsen. He was a fun teacher. He would draw Mickey, okay, I'm gonna give away my age, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck on our hands at the end of the day. He would play chess with us, and we would learn math through the chess. We would learn everything at the end of the day with him, and he was just an inspiration. I can't even begin to be as good a teacher as he was. These days it's technology, anything technology. I can put together a flip grid, I can put together a Kahoot that gets them involved in learning, gets them in front of the camera, and makes them comfortable explaining what they know about math that's interactive. It's not just a worksheet thrown in front of them. It's something for them to do and for me to give them to do where they're comfortable in expressing themselves. It's fun. It's something that you don't think is math, but it is math. I'm honored to be more and more every day like my favorite teacher was.
From Haregrove Elementary, Taylor Kennedy.
We are mic'd now with our light speed system. So I like to be a little goofy. So we're standing out in the hallway, they're walking in. My favorite day is High Five Friday. So we have these big foam hands with Haregrove written across, and we're just sticking our hands out in the hallway. Even if they're not our students, we're high-fiving them. If I have the microphone, the kids know if it's on, she's probably gonna be singing or making up a song or doing something weird. We have kind of our strategy songs. When they're adding or subtracting decimals, we always say, line up the decimals, fill in the gaps. After every whole number, there's a decimal. After every whole number, there's a decimal. After every whole number, after every whole number, after every whole number, there's a, and we'll say decimal. In the moment, it keeps them engaged, but going forward, it's cute, it's funny. When they're testing or they're doing work by themselves, I can just see them do this. And we have this little saying, it might be too early for weird if it's not 8:30, but it's gonna be okay. So they like that energy.
Next, we have Christina Alonso representing Copeland Elementary.
I was an average student. I loved to read, wasn't great at math, but I think that's kind of what makes me a good teacher because it wasn't easy for me the whole time. And so as a teacher, I break stuff down into itty-bitty parts and make it manageable because when somebody gives it to you in big chunks, you just can't learn that well, and that's how I grew up, not being able to grasp big chunks of material. So now I make sure I keep it in manageable chunks so my kids can learn each and every part. I think I kind of went to school just feeling like I was blended in with the pack, and I don't want my kids to think that they blend in with the pack, so I go out of my way to make sure that they don't blend, that they know I know them, that they aren't just the average student who sits in the middle of the classroom and nobody pays attention to them. So I try really hard just to make sure that they know that they're not in the corner and I'll just forget about them because I know they'll do fine. That's kind of how I felt when I was a kid, and I don't want to do that to kids.
From Black Elementary, Laura Wojcinski.
How you treat one another and how you make a person feel, that's what they remember. Something that is very important to me, that we treat each other like a family, that we're kind to one another. They're sweet to each other. If someone falls or something spills, they will, help each other out. We are a family. We support each other. When someone's having a bad day, we bring someone up. When there's a celebration, we celebrate that. I have some students who came to kindergarten and they didn't know how to write their name or their letters or their sounds. And when they know 20 sight words, it's a big deal for them, and we celebrate that. We cheer, and the kids give them high fives and hug them, and I hope that they remember that I love them.
Our next honoree, Michelle Craig, Fraser Elementary.
My first year in kindergarten was an experimental year, to say the least. I had one of those epic first days where you feel like no one's paying attention, and if you just get them alive and fed, then you've accomplished a lot. I've had a child who's had a nosebleed 4 times in one day, blood everywhere. I've had kids vomit. I've had kids poop on my rug. It's been chaos at times, but those are the days you remember and get to tell when you're interviewed for Teacher of the Year. So yes, I've had some students call me Mom. I've had some students call me Dad, which I'm like, sounds kind of offensive, but you're oftentimes a counselor, you're a mom, you're a dad, you're a therapist. I mean, you're more than just their teacher. I do believe, and I'd like to believe, that they call me Mom because maybe there's little parts of their day where they see someone who loves them for who they are, not for who they should be. And so that's kind of why I think they would call me that.
From Lee Elementary, Carlos Gonzalez.
When you're a teacher, you become a jack of all trades. You need to keep them entertained, and so you need to engage them. You need to come up with ways to keep their attention. We do the jazz chants, and the jazz chants are one way of many that you can have the English language learners develop the speech pattern of English along with movement. And they go like, what do you wear on your feet? Socks. What do you wear on your hands? Gloves. What do you wear on your feet? Socks. Shoes and socks. Shoes and socks. What do you wear when it's cold? Gloves. Where do you wear your gloves? On my hands. And it goes like that, and there's a lot of jazz chants that teach them how to interact. For example, there's another one that talks about saying I'm sorry when they do something that they shouldn't have, and it teaches them verbs in present and past. Oh, they love it. They laugh, they have fun, they sometimes beg me to do one of the old ones one more time. So
Next we have Michelle Graham, Hoover Elementary.
Just because one might be confined to a wheelchair doesn't mean she can't reach for the sink and turn the water on for herself. It doesn't mean she can't grab a spoon and try to feed her. So I still place a lot of expectations on them, and I don't let any of their limitations define them. Finding their gift, I think it's in there, and I think the best part of this job is trying to find it, because it's not there, and you just have to keep working, and then you just find it. Whenever I see the parents seeing what their child is capable and they're starting to cry in an IEP meeting because they didn't think their child could read, that was like the most amazing meeting ever. I just think when they can see beyond their child's limitations or disabilities, and that we're really trying to get them to that point, I think that makes it worthwhile.
From Matsky Elementary, Tanya McQueen.
Before I was a teacher, I had my own business. I was a realtor. I've been teaching for 7 years. I was Francophone for 1 year, and that's where I actually got my start teaching at Francophone, and then I came to Matsky. Growing up, I was one of those students. Me and my family was poor. We had food stamps, we had, some struggles. And so those are the babies that, really catch my heart, because they're the ones that, they are excited. They're excited about a new pencil. They're excited about some of the things that we're doing in class. Those are the ones I want to get their heart so that I can get them to learn. Because really, if they don't like being in class, then they're not going to learn from me. Really, I always thought I was going to be a language arts teacher. But with math and science, I have fun with it with the kids. When I tutor students, I always make sure that we get the nitty-gritty out of the way first, and then we do something fun afterwards, so they look forward to not only the lesson, but what comes after the lesson. So just making sure that they enjoy learning, because if they enjoy learning when they're with me in 5th grade, then I hope that they'll continue that the rest of their, school career.
Next, we have Debbie Santalucia from Yeager Elementary.
There was a little girl in our neighborhood that was a friend of my parents' daughter, and she had severe disabilities, and all the kids would make fun of her, and I think it just tugged at my heart, and I just would take care of her and try to teach her little things like how to bounce a ball or how to say her name or things like that. And I think I kind of felt like I had a little bit of a gift for it, because people would say, well, you can, you deal with Nancy, you're really good at it and stuff. And so I think from then on, that seed got planted. And then when I was in high school, I worked in a classroom and really enjoyed it. And I think from then on, I knew what I wanted to do. For years, they've been failing and feeling bad about themselves. And I think it's just so cool to make them feel like, hey, I am capable of doing this, that you've accomplished what you wanted to, that's the whole reason to be a teacher, is to make those kids feel confident, know that they can do what other children can do, and that they can be successful too.
Representing Lowry Elementary, Pamela Taylor.
I've always noticed when I was teaching in the classroom that there were always students who needed a little more attention and a little more help. And for some reason, I was always drawn to those kids. I always felt like the ones who got it, they usually got it, but the other kids who needed help, they didn't always talk about it. They didn't always raise their hands. They didn't always have the confidence. And so I kind of saw myself in some of those kids, because when I was a kid, when I was younger, I felt sometimes like I didn't have the confidence to speak up. I always did well in school, but I was really quiet, really shy. So I always, for some reason, wanted to help those kids who didn't have the confidence, who didn't, say much, but who were also having difficulty. I just felt like, that's what I was drawn to, just helping them succeed. And more than with reading or with the academic part, but with just the confidence and the helping them, with the relationship piece and how to, helping them like come out of their shell and be able to kind of shine a little bit.
From Alt Elementary, Rhonda Nielsen.
I did have a favorite teacher in 3rd grade, and she was just funny. I think more than anything, she made me laugh. She was animated. She was just such a character. I am kind of a quiet, shy person, but the more I get to know my kids, the more I get to know people, then I open up, and I'm even that way with my kids. I was singing on Friday to my kids. I was singing songs to them just randomly, and they laugh and they sing too, they like it when I'm that way. They like it when I'm silly. I was singing about Don't Forget Your Homework, or I was singing, the day before that I was singing about polygons, and I was making up songs. I can't sing. It's not anything. It's just, I just sing, and out of being funny. My whole thing is just trying to reach them in whatever way I can. I have a little bag of tricks, but I'm always looking for something new, for sure.
Representing Sampson Elementary, Lisa Conser.
Ashley's 20, she's in college at McNeese, and I have Alyssa, she's 17, and she's special needs. I got into teaching late. I was 30, don't tell my age. Alyssa was going through treatment, and I just realized that I wanted to help kids, so that's why I started. My children are the spectrum. I have Alyssa, who's mentally always going to be 5, and I have Ashley, who was in the Horizons program, and she's athletic and artistic, and of course they're both beautiful. So I see them in my kids all the time. I see them in my kids who are hyper and can't sit still. That's Ashley. I see Alyssa in the kids that struggle, and that's why I think it's important for me to focus on their potential, because I want people to look at Alyssa the way I look at the kids in my room. I want them to know they have limitless potential.
Next we have Chantel Reed from Reed Elementary.
When the kids hear my name, they say, Miss Reed, is this your school? And I usually say, yeah, it's my school. I tutored in high school for a little bit, and the teachers there thought I was one of the students. I kind of want to stand out so my students know, you're there, I'm here. So teach a lot of little tricks, class management skills. Hocus pocus, let's all focus, hocus pocus. And they start singing, let's all focus. Or everybody, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. It's time to go, go, go. And they start singing and they start moving around the room. Waddle, waddle, quack, quack, let's go. Waddle, waddle, quack, quack, let's go. Waddle, waddle, quack, quack. They start singing on. Waddle, waddle, quack, quack, let's go. We're almost there. Normally, I don't sing outside of what I'm trying to help them do. So it's different, and they love it. I love it, too. It feels good.
From A. Robinson Elementary, Jeannie Decker.
I love what I do. I never thought it was something that I was that passionate about. It wasn't something like I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. That wasn't the case at all. I didn't think I was very good in math. I had a confidence issue with math. It was hard. Math was hard when I was a kid. It's kind of, I think, one of the reasons I'm drawn to it now, because I think that I didn't understand why. I didn't understand the why to it. And that's something I want my kids to understand, is the why. It's not just one way to solve a math problem. Math can be creative. So I think that part of my job is to make sure that they know that they can, and make sure that they want to be there. And that's a big part of it. I think a lot of them have kind of joke that it's like a math PTSD, where they've been traumatized by math in the past. Maybe it's just been so hard for them and they haven't been successful. So I'm going to do whatever it takes for them to be successful.
Next, we have Jessica Franco representing McPhee Elementary.
Growing up, school was really easy for me. But I remember there was one teacher that I had in 4th grade. We were the inclusion classroom, and I remember the student was struggling, and the teacher would do whatever she needed to do to help the student kind of catch up or do whatever else we needed. And I didn't even realize that that student had special needs until later on in life when I was looking back. And I just remember thinking how that student must have felt so good to be included and to be learning, and I wanted to be that teacher for someone. And that's what drew me to special ed. I wanted to help those kids that don't always have a voice and are struggling, and I want to make them love learning. You can just see their smile on their face, their eyes light up, just to be a part of their group and what they feel is like their family. They're so much more willing to take risks and to learn, and it makes my job awesome to see that.
From Wilburn Elementary, Samantha McBride.
Being the youngest of my family, I always had a positive role model. There was always somebody there for me. The world that we live in now, it's not the way that it was when I was growing up. The kids are seeing days that I never want to see. It just takes one person to change. It sounds crazy, but I'm not absent because I'm there for them all the time. I feel like when I'm not there, then I'm letting them down, that I haven't been absent at all. I feel like that I might lose them one day. Or, I don't know. At home, it might not be somebody who's in their corner. They might be told to go straight to their rooms. They don't have conversations. Nobody wants to know what they're doing and how their day is. Let them be heard. I have to be their voice.
Next, we have Allison Habita, Owens Elementary.
We love to have fun. One of my favorite things to do is my read alouds, and I get into character and use funny voices, which they love because they like seeing me kind of get out of that teacher role and into the character role. I use my cowgirl voice. If it's today I read a book and I use different voices, the mom voice, the dad voice, and if they're sad, I'm sad, and happy, excited, just different emotions. I think they get into it. If they see me get into it, then they're gonna wanna get into it. My dad was a jokester, kind of a prankster, loved to make people laugh. So when I make my little funny voices when I'm reading, I kind of feel like I'm bringing my dad out because he loved to be silly and funny and make people laugh. My dad passed away when I was in college, and he definitely made a huge impact in my life. I've always wanted to make him proud, and I hope I'm still doing that.
Our next honoree, Peggy Holmes, Wells Elementary.
I think a lot of times kids are told, do this, do that, do this, do that, or somebody does it for them, and they don't learn how to do things for themselves. I won't let them copy me. I make them come up with their own solution, and sometimes I'll just tear up my stuff that I've shown them. They get really upset when they see that happen, but I'd rather them do their own. Every time the kids paint or make a decision, they're developing their decision-making processes, and they're learning how to think, and I think that's what it really does. It's great to be creative and to have something made at the end, but to have a story behind it and to think it through and make those decisions. I want them to be thinkers. I want them to look at their work and evaluate it and analyze it and go back and change something to make it better and do it on their own terms. And I think that translates into life. And you can ask them, what does Mrs. Holmes want you to be? And they'll tell you she wants you to be a thinker.
From Bain Elementary, Cynthia Chavez.
I can motivate children. I started back when I was in church. My dad is also a pastor, so I would lead the Sunday school lesson with the children. And I love to sing. I love to chant. They love it, and we have fun with it. You know, I try to incorporate all the latest dances, the things that they are doing now. I don't know how to do it well, but I go in there and, you know, do a little Millie Rock. And, Miss Ivy, you're not doing that right. Well, okay, well, show me. Okay. Dun 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 dun. And the kids just love it, you know. How much is a penny? How much is a nickel? How much is a dime? How much is a quarter? A penny is 1, a nickel is 5, a dime is 10, and a quarter is 25. That's how I have the kids to remember the values of money. Any particular subject or area, I have a song or a chant for.
Next, we have Ashley Gallardo from Gleason Elementary.
I love them. My kids, they're so, they mean the world to me. Every year, when they have that aha moment and they're like, oh my gosh, I understand what you're saying, or when you're reading a book and that child tells you at the beginning of the year, I hate reading. And you have parents that come to you at the end of the year and tell you, thank you for teaching my child how to read, because now I can't get them to put a book down. That's my favorite part of teaching. But my classes, there's always something about my kids that just brings a smile to my face, and it's every single one of them, because they all have their own light within. But when you are able to tap into that and get them to perform and believe in themselves, that's the best.
Representing Hancock Elementary, Christine Berry.
I struggled with math when I was younger. I was that quiet kid that liked to sit in the corner and be left alone. And so because I was a good kid, no one bothered me because I was a good kid. But I also was getting lost in the crack because they didn't come and check on me, because I was not causing any problems. So I make sure I focus on those quiet ones too. I let them know that I'm not gonna let them just sit back and not get involved. I try to help them be able to communicate in front of the class, because it's a struggle for me, and it's still a struggle for me, and that's what I tell them all the time. I said, Ms. Berry has a hard time talking in front of people right now, still to this day. So then I try to make sure that when they leave me, I can at least give them a voice to where they're not hiding anymore, because I was the one that would hide it. Lord, if I made it through the day without getting caught and no one asked me anything, then that was a good day for me. But then I know that that wasn't good, so that's why I encourage my kids to be more vocal, communicate, socialize with each other.
Next, we have Dulce Gonzalez from M. Robinson Elementary.
It breaks my heart to see when children are struggling. Mommy doesn't have enough money for my pictures. We talk about how, we take plenty of pictures at school, and, Miss Gonzalez can always print out a picture and, send it to Mommy if you need to have a memento of what we did in kindergarten. It breaks my heart because every child deserves to have everything that they want. But I think that in teaching them that everything is possible and pushing them, they can accomplish anything, that there are no limits to their capacity. We are sort of allowing them and building them up so that one day they don't have to say no to their children, or that they don't have to say no or think twice about, can I spend on something, or, I want this pair of shoes, or I want, this type of education, or instead of going to, Houston Community College, I want to go to a 4-year university. I think that in educating them and building them, in building their self-esteem, we are, in a sense, helping them out.
From Swinky Elementary, Diane Prestridge.
I just try to make it approachable for them. Okay, I just want it to be fun for them. So I try and make it real for them. I try and connect it to their lives. So it's not math, it's life. They may have had some difficulty in the past, but they haven't been in my room before, and they haven't been with me before, and they just haven't seen the way that we can do things in here. I'll read the word problem to them, and then a lot of times I'll go, I know it sounds like wah, 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 wah. And so then we just break it down into smaller segments to what it means, and then I'll get kids to come up from the class, and I'll give them a part in the story, and they just act out what's happening in the story. they're not ever going to remember the worksheets that we do. And they may not remember the specific skills that they'll learn in my class, but they'll use them in their life. And I hope that they'll remember how much I cared for them.
Next, we have Michelle Ray, Emmett Elementary.
It's pretty high energy. I'm the teacher that sings all the time, and we have chants for everything in there. Well, we have like our morning song that we do every day. I'm gonna do the whole, okay, so we do This Is the Way. Hey, we start the day. Hey, to get the knowledge. Hey, to go to college. Hey, but don't stop there. Hey, go anywhere. Hey, this is the way. Hey, we start the day. Hey, and then we all say good morning. I've noticed my students, they really love routine of things. Like if we forget to do it for some reason, they're like, wait, we haven't done our morning song yet. We just do like, I have 7, they want 9. Do I have enough? No, go next door and borrow. Cross me out, make me smaller, put a 1 by my side. And they'll usually, then I'll see them at their test, they're like, do I have enough? No, go next door and borrow.
Our next honoree is Brenda Callis, Keith Elementary.
I love my children that have autism. They brighten my day. They make me smile because they're special and they're unique in just so many ways. I love the kids that have behavior problems because I want to jump in firsthand and be there for them. And there have been times, I mean, I've been hit, I've been bit, I've been kicked, I've been called ugly names by kids that are in 2nd grade, and it breaks my heart. But I also know, and I tell them all the time, I'm not giving up on you. I am not going to give up on you. You can be mad at me, you can say you hate me, you can call me ugly names, you can hit, but I love you and I'm not giving up. Understand that they are human and that children with special needs, they have feelings. They are the most caring children, the most lovable children, and all they want to do is be like everyone else. And in my eyes, they are like everyone else.
From Post Elementary, Catherine Grinwelge.
I was in high school when I decided I wanted to be a teacher. I did a preschool program where we did it out of Jersey Village High School 3 days a week, and I just fell in love with the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds that I was working with. Most of them come in hating math, and it is my goal by the end of the year to at least open their mind to the fact that they do love math and that they can do it. That's kind of a conception that they come in, oh, math is the worst, I stink at math. But you know, by the end of the year, I could say that at least 90% of my students are like, math is my favorite. Math was my favorite. I was not a big reader in school, still not a big reader. I tell my students, it's not something I enjoy doing in school, but I had to do it to get where I am, and you're gonna have to do the same thing. But you know, math has been that thing that's always stuck with me, and that's why I chose a career teaching math. I do not think that there is a student in my classroom that does not have a mathematical brain and that can't grow and learn something new from being in my class.
Next, we have Noelle Sharon from Pope Elementary.
I struggled in school. I struggled a lot. I had a lot of learning disabilities growing up, which we didn't discover until junior high. I also had attention deficit disorder, which was not discovered until junior high. So all of my elementary school teachers would just say, Noelle could do so much if she just tried harder. I had a teacher once take my paper and throw it away and call it garbage. And because I think she thought she was adding that fancy word onto it, it made it not okay. But I remember that at the age of 44. I want them to go off into the world one day, and I want them to look back, and I want them to think I had the most loving and caring and nurturing environment. I want them to look back on their years with me and at Pope as some of the best times of their lives. They had these great teachers, that the teachers loved them, that we cared for them, and we thought they were important.
Representing Millsap Elementary, Crystal Feltz.
I had a 5th grade science teacher, Mrs. Sandman. Everything was hands-on, experiments, learning like that. It wasn't always so much textbook, paper, pencil.
And my favorite project that she let us do is we were learning about the rainforest. And we were able to do either a write-up, a song, I think an act or something like that. And we partnered up, and my friend and I chose a song, a rap song about the rainforest. We presented it in front of the class, and she did this award thing, announced us on the announcements, and then after the pledge one day, she let us rap the song on the announcements, and it was so great. I actually sing random songs all the time, and I know that it's built into the curriculum, but I try to give them like beats or tunes or things like that so that the students always remember them. Inherited traits are what I have. I get it from my mom and I get it from my dad. And then all the kids are like, word.
Next, we have Carrie Weedle, Moore Elementary.
I didn't see myself as a teacher when I was in college. I wanted to be rich, and I wanted to be in fashion, which is kind of weird because I'm not even that fashionable. But I'll be honest, in the beginning it was a little bit, sometimes you blame other things, you blame the students, you blame outside things. And then finally when I started to look at myself and say, when there's a problem, what can I do to change that? How can I make this different? How can I fix this problem? That's when I really started to see improvements in my career. I'm pretty good at getting to know my kids and talking to them, and whether it's right when they come in or at lunch or recess or during class, just asking them how things are going at home. You know, I try to find out if they have siblings, ask about how their parents or their brothers and sisters are doing. You know, they think I'm fun. They will ask me to race them at recess. We tell jokes and make silly faces. I hope that they will learn that working hard is a good thing, and that school and learning can be fun, and love to read and write and just learning in general.
From Walker Elementary, Natalia Karyugadi.
We don't define them by their disabilities, we define them by their talents and how they learn. I am more oriented to the emotions and the feelings of my kids. I love to build confidence in them, and that's my goal. That's what I'm working in my classes right now. And I have seen the progress. I have seen the improvement in academics when they build that confidence. When they start, they feel confused and afraid because they know it's hard for them. I start breaking those fears. I like to show, I like to make them move, I like to make them tell me about their lives. I like to share things with them to make them feel like they are not walking in my classroom to somebody who doesn't know them. And I get the luxury of getting to know them too. Then by the time they loosen up, I am able to get in and I am able to teach them.
Representing Homesley Elementary, Monica Roebuck.
To be honest with you, it's what all I've ever known since I was little. I remember going to school before summer vacation asking my teachers for worksheets because I knew for the summertime, this sounds so cheesy, but for the summertime I was going to get together with the neighborhood kids and we were going to play school, and I of course was going to be the teacher, and I wanted to grade the papers. That was something I was looking forward to doing, was grading their papers. I don't have any kids of my own, so I do feel like each of them plays a special role in taking a little piece of my heart. They say mom, and they real quickly stop what they're doing, and they say, "Oh, I'm Miss Roebuck." I guess it just makes me feel like they trust me enough to feel like, I've made them feel that sorry. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing.
From Rennell Elementary, Edith Patel.
After high school, I went on to dance in college and professionally with the NBA and the NFL. Started teaching dance. I taught in middle school and in high school. But once I started, I was gonna get married, have a family. Just the time commitment for drill team was a lot with weekends and, year-round. So I made a big jump to elementary. Their attention span is usually, I say, about a minute or two for their age. So I use all the sides of my room. I do a lot of movement, I do a lot of music. For example, if I see they're getting a little fidgety, I'll just do like silent stretches. So as long as they're quiet, it's kind of like follow the leader. They'll come up and I'll just do like random dance moves and they're doing it. And we're quiet, but it gets them up and moving before we move on to the next thing. Do the robot or, different little things, but without any sound. And it was amazing to see them, how much fun they had. And they were quiet, and then they were, refreshed and ready to start on the next thing.
Next, we have Maria Andrea Cobo representing Sheridan Elementary.
There's a connection between us because I was a bilingual kid and I grew up in a bilingual classroom or went to school in a bilingual classroom. And so our classroom is just full of love. We care about each other and they know that I come from a place that understands where they're coming from because I was that kid and we talk about that all the time. It's hard to try to fit in when you know you're different. And so it's like I feel like I lived like two worlds in a way. Like I had my home life, which was like Spanish, and my parents are like trying to be Colombian, but we're in America. And then I have, school, and it's like English, and I'm like, I'm just trying to keep up. So I play that into my classroom in the way that I'm like, Spanish is so important and I feel like you need to use it, respect it, it ties back to your culture, but let me show you what English can do for your life and the opportunities that it can give you.
From Woodard Elementary, summer camp.
I actually grew up in a small town in East Texas, and my dad's a country boy, my mom's a city girl, and they met in the little town that I grew up in, and I grew up through that system and then graduated from Cypress-Fairbanks High School. We ended up moving back to Houston, and I went to Sam Houston State for my undergrad in elementary education, and I went back for my master's in reading instruction. I committed myself a long time ago to be a lifelong learner. I lost my mom when I was 19 to cancer, and she growing up, both my parents instilled they instilled in me the importance of education. I'm actually a first-generation college graduate in my family. I want to be the best version of myself that I can be because I'm affecting other people. And I think that finding my passion and finding what I love, I think is going to do nothing but help the lives of my kids.
From Feast Elementary, Elaine Winger.
My favorite teacher, the one that I probably became a teacher because of, was my high school biology teacher. She gave me the love of science, and I've pretty much taught science my entire career. In my science class, I try to do as many investigations as possible. I think the kids really enjoy the hands-on. I can talk and talk and talk. They don't remember those things. They remember the experiments or the things that we did. We do a density column where things will sink or float and kind of become suspended between the layers, and it's something they can do at home too. We always have animals in our class that we check out from the Science Resource Center. We get something different every 2 weeks. This year when the lunar eclipse happened, I encouraged my students to go look out in the evening sky and bring back something that they remembered of it, took pictures, they looked up stuff on the internet, and then when they got back, we looked up when the next one was going to be, and it's going to be in 5 years on my birthday. And so I hope that when they watch the next one that they remember me, and maybe they'll even bring me a present.
Representing Holbrook Elementary, Melissa Parker.
I was the neighborhood babysitter. The kids just always wanted to come to my door, ask my mom if I could play. And here I am, 5, 6 years older than everybody. And, something had to happen with kids. I think I listened. I think, we played, but I was there. They wanted to sit down, they wanted to talk, they wanted to hold my hand and just be there. Some of my kids come with way more baggage than they should. And some days that's just what they need, to be supportive, to find the little triumphs and celebrate those, to make kind of the kids who, went from a 20 on the first test to a 60. Might not be passing, but it's a huge improvement, and I want to make that feel like an A. They don't need you to teach them to add or subtract. They just need you to listen, to just be there, give them a hug, and just know that they can come to you.
From Postma Elementary, Terry Lynn.
I had such great experiences growing up in Cy-Fair that I knew that I wanted to come back and kind of impact students in the same way. I grew up and I went to Wilburn, and I remember, things like the Name That Book contest, and I'm going to the library every week. And so it's really cool to be able to do that with my kids now. My students go every week on Wednesdays and, have those story time and pick out a new book and that kind of thing. It's really cool. I want to make them love learning. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but I want them to want to keep learning. The coolest thing is today we were walking down the hallway and they're like, you know why I love school, Miss Lynn? I don't know why. I love school because we get to learn new things, and we're doing a nonfiction unit, so it's really cool. It's really fun that they're giving me all their fun facts of the day, and we're coming up with things. I'm learning things every day, squids have blue blood and, different facts like that they just really, they're super excited and pumped about it, and I want them to want to keep being super excited and pumped about learning and reading and coming up with, new ideas and that kind of thing.
Next is Christy Capers, Wilson Elementary.
My grandfather was a principal. I think that kind of got me started when I was a little girl. And I have cousins that are also in the teaching position, so I think it was kind of only natural. So I wanted to be in that position, to be able to help kids and to make a difference the way that my role models, my family members had. I do see children that try to copy my handwriting because they think I have neat handwriting, so they try to copy my handwriting and they say that they want to be just like me. It makes me feel happy because I don't often see myself as someone who people would look up to. So for someone to want to be able to do something that I'm doing because I've inspired them, that's really special.
From Metcalf Elementary, Alma Cardoso.
I graduated high school. I kind of, growing up, had the idea I wanted to be a teacher, but then you hear they don't get paid enough, they take home work, and I wanted the weekends for myself. So that was out of the picture. I went in for interior design. But then in that time when I was in college, I started working at a middle school, and I just like building those relationships with the kids, especially those at-risk students. I knew I wanted to be in Cy-Fair because I graduated from Cy-Fair. I went elementary, middle school, high school, and I knew I wanted to come back. Sometimes my kids come in and they don't think they'll do much with their life because they see their parents working hard and they think they're going to be doing the same thing. I'm just going to go and work. But I teach my kids, no, you work hard now so you can have whatever you want later. I want to thank my parents because they taught me how to work hard, be patient, always serve others, and I love you guys and thank you for everything you've done for me.
Next we have Jesus Esparza, Leader Elementary.
I think it's very important to celebrate success. I have a lot of kids who come to me at the beginning of the year having a preconceived notion that they're not math people or that they're not going to be successful in math. And I always related to that because I was the same way when I was younger. I never really enjoyed math and I wasn't very successful at it. And it's just really ironic because when I decided to be a teacher, I wanted to be a reading teacher, but the only thing that was available were math teaching positions. And my first year teaching math, I completely changed my mindset about it, and I try and use my experience to help change their mindset about it too. At the end of the year, it's my favorite part whenever students write me notes and say things like, I used to be scared or I used to be bad at this, but now you helped me out, and thank you, because now I'm good at math.
From Horn Elementary, Joel Luna.
When they first come into my classroom, I try to make them feel welcome, like if they are at home.
because sometimes they come very nervous. They don't know me and I don't know them, but I feel that many kids don't want to express themselves because they are afraid of their accent. They are afraid of not saying the correct things. I passed through the same situation as the kids. When I was a kid, I also learned English like them. So I learned English when I was in high school. So when I came here to the United States, I didn't speak any English. So I was a new arrival. None of my classmates spoke Spanish, so I had difficulties learning the language, but I know what it feels. Family is extremely important for my kids, so I try to always have that into the classroom, or have the kids share about their families, have their what are some things that they do at home, and bring that into the classroom. But I start building academics through that.
From Farney Elementary, Charla Carey.
Music has the spiritual aspect, that when you teach music or the arts, you're reaching the soul, not just the mind. And if you reach the soul, then our cultures can relate with one another. Last year, I submitted for a grant and received 17 ukuleles and started a program. As a child, I really loved the instrument. My mother and I used to glue green stamps into books, and that's how I got my first ukulele. Oh, we all strum together, yes. And of course, I give each student individual attention if they're having trouble, and then I let them help each other, especially with the tuning. If we're making music, we cannot be fighting. If we are collaborating together with all different kinds of beliefs, your goal is making a beautiful sound. So music is the key, I think, to a successful and happy, joy-filled life.
From Adam Elementary, Adriana Saucedo.
I was born in Mexico, and we moved to California when I was about 3 years old. And ever since I was little, growing up over there, I just wanted to be a teacher. My parents were never able to attend any of the events, not so much by choice, but because they had to work. But I know at the same time they might have been seen as those parents that don't attend things. All parents care. My mom grew up in a home where she wasn't able to go to school. She was one of the oldest, so she had to start working right away, so she was working at 12 years old. My dad, kind of the same thing. He grew up in a farm, and he's been working since he was 6 years old. We have a lot of relatives, and not a lot of them go to college or get an education because they start working. And a lot of the times in the Hispanic culture, that's sometimes the priority, is like you get a job so you can take care of your family. And it's not so much a negative thing, it's kind of what we were brought up to think. But sometimes it is kind of seen as, oh, those parents never show up or they never come. And it's like sometimes they just can't. And I think as teachers, we have to be understanding of that.
From Burks Elementary, Kristen Smith.
Kindergarten is so important. It's just the foundation of learning. It's where they have that first experience into school. And so we are giving them all of those tools that they need to be better humans and to get along with others. And, you might have a boss or someone in your circle who you don't get along with, but here's how to accept no, here's how to disagree appropriately, here's how to give compliments to them and things like that. If everyone in the world came to my kindergarten class, that's a strong thing to say, that there would be more kindness, but that's something that I really try and promote. I've got a clock in my room that has a sign around it that says it's time to be kind, because it's always time to be kind. So just really giving them what they need to survive in society.
From Andre Elementary, Lachey Fleming.
A lot of people refer to PE as the hop, jump, skip department. I heard it a lot in college, but it's so much more, because yes, you are teaching a skill set, but you're teaching a lot of social skills, a lot of character traits. For instance, I had a 5th grade group one year, and they were classified as a really rough group by the whole school. They were just rough attitudes, behaviors, but at one point I had got just upset with them because it was like 6 teachers in 30 minutes. Can you talk to this student? Can you talk to this student? Can you talk to this student? I was like, okay, we're gonna call a meeting. And we just had an open powwow. A week later, one of the young girls came back and she was like, Coach Fleming, you know, I heard you saying that we need to try to select our friends wisely, and a real friend is gonna be there to help you out, not tear you down, and they're gonna try to keep us on the right path. I just want you to know I heard you and I'm listening. Every year she has been back to say, Coach, I'm still listening. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, but just building those relationships, I think, is what's most important.
Representing Francone Elementary, Kirsten Seacrest.
I eat lunch with students 3 to 4 times a week. They sign up on a little calendar and they come in and we sit at the table together and we eat and we just talk and we get to know each other and we just enjoy that 30 minutes. Usually they're interested in what I'm eating. I was eating a turkey burger the other day and that like blew their mind. They thought it was a burger with turkey on it. So I explained to them what that looks like it's just fried turkey. Just they learn about each other's life, so like things that they don't know about or they haven't been and they haven't experienced. And later on in writing, we can come back to them like, oh, remember that story you told me in lunch? Hey, let's use that here. Let's write about that. When it helps them to further their academics when they're not even thinking about academics. I don't really remember teachers sitting and talking to us in school and like laughing and getting to know us. I just don't remember genuine conversations like that. It was, here's the lesson, here's the activity, now go do this. You're opening yourself up. They want to know everything about me. They want my dog to come to school. They want to know when my husband's coming to school. Like they feel a part of my life as much as I feel a part of their life.
Next, we have Amber Denton representing Bang Elementary.
I'm a product of Cypress schools, so I grew up in the district, and I had a lot of really good teachers in my life that really were positive role models for me, and I wanted to do everything that I could to help those that were less fortunate than myself. I used to volunteer in special education classes when I was young, and I was always a big fighter for inclusion. I was blessed with a daughter that has special needs. And I think that having those students in my classroom have given me the fight and determination to make sure that every student, everyone gets the appropriate education that they need in a place where they're loved, in a place where they're comfortable. I want to give them the classroom that I want my daughter and my son to have.
From Hemingway Elementary, Wendy Garza.
I actually went to school to be a librarian. I decided to become certified and I made the jump and I moved to South Korea to teach middle school at a boarding school over there. I'm Korean, so it wasn't too far of a jump for me. The thought of like just moving to a foreign country. I had never been to Korea prior to moving there. The school I think was like $40,000 a year, so they were really well off. I taught in Korea up until August and I got hired at Hemingway about 3 or 4 weeks later. I have kids that can't afford school supplies, they can't afford clothes or dinner. They can very easily tell you like, oh, you know, my mom had to go to the Walmart this morning because we didn't have clothes at home. Or I don't have school supplies because my mom left it in her car and she doesn't know where her car is anymore. I mean, no matter what happens at home, I always tell the kids, when you're in Miss Garza's class, you know, we'll figure it out. You need a notebook, I'll get you a notebook. You need a backpack, okay, I'll go find you a backpack. I think that I just kind of roll with it, you know, whatever they need, we'll figure it out.
From Kirk Elementary, Ellen Jablonski.
Any person you ask, you can ask them their least favorite teacher and they'll tell you exactly the day, the moment that that teacher said something negative to them and they don't forget. My 4th grade teacher just flat out told me, you're good at writing. I think even if I really wasn't at that time, I think I became good at writing because she told me that I was. When you tell a student that they have a talent in an area, they want that to be true, even if they don't believe it first for themselves. So they'll do what they can to prove you right. Writing is a hard thing, especially when you're little, when you're 7 or 8. And so I think that when they become good at the thing that they thought was so hard, they really get a kind of a boost of confidence in themselves. And they feel like they can do hard things. And a lot of times they really don't believe in themselves with writing. They think it's too hard. Maybe they've been told before that they're not good at it. And so when they become good at it, I think that it can have a lasting impact.
Representing Danish Elementary, Terry Richter.
I teach SGRI, which is small group reading intervention for first graders who are struggling with reading. And I also have taught dyslexia. The different things that they love to do, whether it be write with special pens, colored pens, smelly pens, write with shaving cream, we'll write in sand, or I have gel boards that we'll write with. They can read with little flashlights. My students amaze me. They inspire me. I see them come from struggling and behind all their peers to not only catching up, but going beyond. I had one little girl, she graduated when they don't need to come see me anymore. She's reading on level, and she made a little video on Seesaw for her mom, and she said, I graduated from Miss Richter's reading group today because I'm a very good reader. I'm so special. I'm the best. I'm the most special there is. And she was so cute. And she was so excited that day.
Our next honoree, Ann Brown, Emory Elementary.
Before I was a teacher, I was the Chief Financial Officer and Human Resources for the State of Wyoming Livestock Board. When we first moved down, my son was in 5th grade, so I just stayed home helping them with the transition. My son is on the autism spectrum disorder. I put in with Cfisd as a para and as a substitute, and the teacher that I worked with that first year really encouraged me to go through an alternative certification program with Region 4 to become a teacher. Every time these kids come in, that's my son now too, and I am going to advocate for him the same way I advocated for my son. He's in general ed classes now with in-class support. He's working at grade level, which he'd never done before we came to Texas. So what I went through, the challenges I still go through with him, that's what I pour into my kids.
Next, Mary Kate Moore, Warner Elementary.
My sister and I would always play school, and we would just stay up hours on end playing school. By the time that it was my first experience in the classroom in college, it was like a dream come true. I was blessed because my sister and I got to play school together whenever we were little, and then whenever I did my student teaching, I actually did it at her elementary school. And so we taught next door to each other, so it was really like we were still playing school together. I always tell my students too, like at the very, very beginning of the year, we start as a classroom, but by the end of the year, we finish as a family. In my classroom, I teach special ed, and I also have even students that are English language learners that maybe this is their first year in Texas or in Houston, and everything is so new. And so a lot of what I do is making sure that those students have buddies and have great friends to look up to and to kind of watch after them to make sure that they are welcomed.
And our final honoree representing Tips Elementary, Herlinda Kennedy.
At the beginning of the school year, it's crazy. They cry, they want their mom, they don't know how to share, they don't know how to line up. You ask them to make a line and it looks like all the squiggly worms, and most of them, they don't even know their names because they used to call them baby or princess or whatever at their house. So when you call them by their name, they don't even know you're calling them. So you have to start like, okay, your name is Pedro, look at me. When I say Pedro, you have to look at me. So that's a cool part. In the second semester of the year, everything gets better, you know? They already know the routine, they know how to follow the line, they know how to sit down and stay still for a story and all those things. I think kindergarten and first grade teachers should give us flowers because we do such a great job with having them ready for kinder or first grade in pre-K.
Please welcome CFISD Board President, Dr. John Ogletree.
Hey, let's applaud and celebrate all these honorees tonight. There were some beautiful stories, and I'm telling you, we've seen the best tonight. Excellence always distinguishes itself no matter what field, whether it's in automobiles, restaurants, hotels, it's same is true in education. And you have distinguished yourself this year, and our children are made the better for it. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your time. Thank you for even the money you spend on our kids. God bless all of you.
And one more warm welcome for CFISD's Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mark Henry.
That's about as good an hour as you can spend, isn't it? Well, what inspirational stories. And, you know, I think about people and some of these guys up here around my age, and I think about sports heroes like Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan or Larry Bird, even Roger Staubach or Terry Bradshaw. I don't want to leave. I got to come up with a Houston Oiler, Earl Campbell. And you think about those stars and you think about the joy they brought you for a few minutes on Sunday afternoon or watching a ball game, but they really don't change people's lives. The real heroes of this world you just met in front of you, they have a lasting impact, not a momentary impact on people. And I can remember the teachers that had such a positive impact on my life, and the reason I'm here today is because of great parents and outstanding teachers. So teachers, I applaud you. A couple of people I want to thank this evening, the CFISD Cinema team that put all of these together, and Berry Center staff who ran them. Would y'all stand? They're kind of hard to see in here. Up here, go ahead and turn on the house lights if you don't mind. And we appreciate them so much. And we're also honored today to have one of our school namesakes with us, Jim and Pam Wells up here. Thank you for being here. You can see them up on the front row. Now, I want us to finish this evening on a good note. I know the Rockets are about to tip off, and Don Ryan is timing me up here, and my evaluation is going down with every word that I speak. But I want to do this. I want to treat our teachers like we do sports heroes. So I want all of our teachers to turn around and look and find the people that are here to support you. So teachers, stand. And then I want you to act like these teachers are J.J. Watt or James Harden. And let's give them a cheer. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. This concludes our program. God bless you and safe travels.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a safe drive home, and to all, a good night.